Today we're going to take a very quick look at one feature within SwaggerHub, something that we call domains. Domains are a way for us to take a collection of definitions, object definitions, path items, query parameters, anything that we can use and create in an open API spec, and store that in a separate file. Essentially, we can create this library of reusable assets that exists separate from the definition itself, and in that way we could reference it from a number of different definitions. This is going to allow us to standardize across a large organization the way that we're starting to ask for data, as well as the way that we're responding. If we have something like a bad request come in, we want to be able to return 404 to the client in the same way, regardless of what service we create. And as we have distributed teams, as we have a lot of changes happening to services and APIs, this becomes really important. We want to eliminate any kind of drift in the way that we're starting to respond to our requests. So on the screen we have a very simple API that we've kind of configured here. We can see on the right-hand side that we have two requests that we're serving up data from. One is to add two numbers together, one is to subtract one number from another. If we scroll down, we see that we have a result that's defined, and if we match this up on the left-hand side here, we can see that right now we're creating a local reference. So if we scroll down to the bottom of this file, we have this result add and the result subtract, and it's set up right now again in such a way that it's only looking for this information on the local file. So now how do we again start to standardize this across our organization and create that library of reusable assets? If we take one step back and we take a look at our collection of APIs here, we have this calculator domain, and when we open up this domain, it looks kind of similar to what we were just working with in the API definition, but it's only a collection of these responses, parameters, path items, essentially a collection of models for us to use across our organization. So now we can see that we've changed something within this. Let's say that across our organization we now want to start responding with strings as opposed to integers. Very simple switch, but if we didn't start to use this setup, we would have to go through every single API definition and check or update this manually. And in this way, we're going to create a lot of points of failure. If we miss one or someone's out and they're not able to take a look at this review, we're going to create, again, a point of failure within our environment. So we've got all of this information stored in our domain, and if we jump back again and open up our calculator definition, all we have to do now is just start to remove the local definitions. We can hit Control Space, and this is going to pull up a list of all of the domain references that exist within our org. So we can see here, we've still got those local ones. We didn't get rid of those. We've got some for other APIs, so some other objects that we might want to start to use. And now all the way at the bottom are the ones that we want to reference. So we have here our standard response, and in the second one we want to go ahead and grab our standard error. Now we can see that this has made a backend call through SwaggerHub out to that separate domain, and if we save this and we open up our documentation, one of the nice things is that to the client, to the consumer, this is never really exposed. When we take a look at the documentation, we should see that that new information is there. So this has all been updated, but again, we never really allude to that on the client side. So it's a really nice way, again, to start to standardize in our development and our design space with the consumption side never really kind of seeing that piece. All that they're going to know is that when I make a bad request, we're always going to get the same type of response, and it looks the same in all of our documentation across the entire organization and all of the services that we're trying to provide. The other nice thing here is that if we ever wanted to make a change to this domain, all we'd have to do is go and update that one file, and every single reference is going to pick that up. And we even have its own versioning system. So if we wanted to have a version 1, version 1.5, if we had made a breaking change to a model or something like that, we could create a version 2.0. So there's a lot of ways that we can start to utilize these domains as part of a larger standardization and development workflow.